Okay, declare attackers. We're going to hold back our 2 life gain guys, and let's see what happens. Oh. Oh my. Oh, yes. Hello, Brian from Tavarn Games here, and this week I decided to completely rip off Brewer's Kitchen over at MtG Goldfish and make an arena video. Now, I haven't touched Arena in 3 years, at least until the Dominar United pre-release gave me 6 free packs, and I figured, let's open them up, see what I get, maybe build a new standard deck. Of course, it being 3 years since my last time playing, I had 0 cards available in standard. So I used some of the wild cards I had, some of the coins I had saved up from years past, and I built myself this deck. Well, not exactly this deck. This has been refined over a few hundred games, and it's been good enough to get me into Diamond tier relatively quickly, so I'm pretty happy with it, and I'm going to show it to you guys today. So for our first game, we're going to be facing Capanicus. Now, this hand here, it's a bit of a risky keep. We have lots of lands, and we have our Lunarch Veteran for getting life gain, and our Rumor Gatherer, which will hopefully let us draw. So we're going to go ahead and keep it. Opponent plays a land, we're going to play a land, and our Lunarch Veteran. Alright, opponent draws, plays a land, and passes the turn, so we're going to drop another land and attack. We now have an extra land, so we'll be able to get our Defiler or Rabble Rousing out eventually. Now our opponent appears to be in black-blue, so we're going to drop our land, try to drop the Rumor Gatherer, but I'm going to bet they've got a counterspell on deck, and there it is. Every blue deck has to have a ton of counterspells. Really makes me hate them. But okay, we go to our opponent's turn, and they drop their land and get a Sheoldred, the black staple of this meta. Definitely a difficult card for us to deal with, but we're going to try and play around it. We get out our Adeline. Won't be able to provide blocks right now, and we definitely don't want to attack in and lose our Lunarch. We need his life gain to deal with Sheoldred's constant destruction of our life total. Okay, so we also have Rafine, so they're going to be able to connive and get their Sheoldred up nice and strong with that. So they do put the counter on. We're not going to block because we do want to keep our Adeline alive, and luckily we do draw in some removals, so hopefully we'll be able to get that to fire. Alright, the opponent is taking their time, so they definitely have a spell in hand, probably a counter spell, but we managed to get the Sheoldred to die. Opponent didn't counter it, so we're going to go for the Resolute Reinforcements, look at whatever that is, and now that explains why they did not counter a previous spell, because we would have been able to pay the cost. Okay, so with our Adeline, we attack in, we get a token, we get life, they block the Adeline to avoid the 3 damage, so we get to keep our token, which is great. Alright, they do their land for turn, they play that Dennick out of their graveyard, and attack in, connive. Alright, so they choose to discard. So we go in, we're going to get the Rabble Rousing out before the Defiler. We really want to start going wide. And underneath, I would like to put a Welcoming Vampire's nice, but another Rabble Rousing is just too good to pass up. So we're just going to attack with the Adeline and the token to generate 2 new ones. The Adeline will be able to survive. Don't care if that token dies. But again, we got to keep that Lunarch Veteran alive. So our opponent blocks the token. We hit in for a good amount with the Adeline. They play their land, so they appear to be getting a little bit flooded out on us. They connive twice on their Fiend, discard, and destroy our Adeline. So that's a little unfortunate for us. Would have liked to keep her alive. Would have got the Rabble Rousing to trigger a bit earlier on the Hideaway, since we need 10 creatures for that. But we'll be able to survive, and okay, so Meathook Massacre, the other black staple in this set. So that is definitely a card this deck has trouble against, but we do have our Defiler in hand that's going to let us start to fight against that. Our opponent is out of cards, so they're going to be relying on top decks. Now I decided to get the Lunarch out using the Defiler's ability, because we're going to definitely want the life gain again for when we start losing permanents, presumably. And that's immediately destroyed. That does help us out, since they lost their ability to kill one of our small creatures, and the Knight of Dawn's Light being able to pump is going to be a very good attacker. So opponent plays a land again and decides not to attack. I guess they want to keep blockers up. We get the Welcoming Vampire out, so we're going to do it without doing the health loss, because we can't afford that right now. And the Nidon's Light, I debated if I wanted to take the health loss depending on what I drew next. We'd be able to play that, but since I have no life gain on the field, it was a little too risky. So we attack in. They decide not to block the token for no good reason, and go to their turn. Okay, our Defiler dies now. So they managed to remove that, a little annoying for us. Not the end of the world though. Meat Hook triggers, they get a clue, sacrifice, draw. Hopefully they don't get any more removal, because that's going to really hurt us if they do. Rafine can knives yet again, they discard, so we have a 3 attacking, meaning we don't want to block. We'd like to keep that Welcoming Vampire alive. We get a Lunarch Veteran. I decide to play Adeline first. I'm afraid they'll have a counterspell in hand, and I actually would prefer the Lunarch Veteran right now, because we do need the life gain in case we don't have enough attack power getting through. Okay, so we draw a card. It's just a land. I drop it down. And let's go in with everything. So, attack with everything. We create a whole heap and pile of tokens. That's going to get us a bunch of life and get us our second Rabble Rousing out. So let all those triggers go. Alright, Hideaway now. We're going to hide away the Wedding Announcement. But I don't think we're going to need it. We have a lot of power on board. Our opponent chooses not to block at all. So just to be safe, let's give one more power, just in case it's not quite enough to kill them, but we are good to go. So we got our first victory, we survived a Meat Hook Massacre, and we're going to move on to our next game. So in this one, we're facing AMW9274, very catchy username, easy to remember for sure. And we get another sort of weird starting hand, but we're going to keep it. We've got 2 Lunarch Veterans, so we're going to have a decent amount of life gain, and we do have a removal spell. Draw into another Lunarch Veteran, which is kind of crazy. We're going to be able to gain a lot of life if we can keep those on the field. Now, they play an Era of Enlightenment, which I have never seen anyone play this month, so that's new to me. I guess they really want to scry. We get another removal spell in our Runic Shot, so that can get rid of anything they attack with. And we'll play our 2 Lunarch Veterans and start getting some life gain. Attack in since they are tapped down. And let's see what they do. Alright, our opponent, another land drop. And they play another Era of Enlightenment. Alright, again, they really like scrying. So they top both those cards. We move on. So the Rabble Rousing is great. We're not going to use it yet, or be able to use it yet. But we'll just attack in. We'll hold on to that Borrowed Time. I'm not really afraid of the Enlightenments turning over on me. They do get a 2/2 first strike, but there's probably far worse things we're going to need to deal with. Like that. We definitely don't want that on the field. So they're Hallowed Haunting. They're playing an enchantment deck and hoping to get everything really big and flying and smacking me hard. So let's just get rid of that. We aren't going to attack, though, because we don't want to lose our Lunarch Veterans. They'll get a second first strike, which is a little annoying for us. And immediately Borrowed Time our Borrowed Time and get their Hallowed Haunting back right away. So we're not going to block. We'll take the 2 and be a little sad that we don't get to destroy their plan. But we get the Rabble Rousing out. Let's see what we get to hide away. We're going to hide away a Wedding Announcement. We're going to hit in with all 3. At this point, I'm not too worried about losing 1. We'll be able to disturb it back. And we'll get the 3 little Citizen tokens coming down, which is going to give us a lot of life gain. So they very predictably block one of the Lunarch Veterans. We hit in for 2 and pass to them. Alright, they get another Hallowed Haunting, upping their enchantment count, so making it a little closer to going off on us. Definitely a little terrifying. We won't be able to just remove 1 and deal with it. So we're going to just have to hope we draw into good things. We're going to get out our disturbed Lunarch Veterans, so the Luminous Phantom, and swing in. I debated attacking with all of them. I decided to keep 1 Lunarch Veteran back to ensure we get the life gain triggers. As you can see, those are really useful off that Rabble Rousing. And our opponent, though, is going to block 1 predictably again. We left the other one back. They are very confused about that and block a Citizen instead. So we only ping in for 2 again. We lose our Veteran, but we do gain some life from it leaving the battlefield, and we immediately disturb Recast It on this turn. So we gain a bit of life off that and pass the turn again. So drawing another rabble-rousing off the wedding announcement is pretty fun. We're going to be able to get both on the field and really start to get our tokens going. So our opponent has a Spirited Companion, so another enchantment, and they get the card draw. So they are only one away from getting their vigilance and bonuses, and they play a Catilda. So that's coming in as a massive lifelink creature. Definitely going to be a very annoying thorn in our side. But debating here between the wedding announcement and Adeline, but let's go for another wedding announcement. If we can make our creatures nice and big, we don't have to worry as much about attacking in. So we're going to attack with everything but the Lunarch Veteran. Again, we need that life gain. And there it goes. Look at this. Alright, so that's going to immediately let us get our other wedding announcement on the field. Our lifelink triggers. And let's speed up the blocks because our opponent took a while declaring blockers. Straight to attacks. Of course, we're going to lose one of our citizens right away off the first strike. All the rest punch in. A bunch die. But we gained twice as many as we lost, and our Luminous Phantoms can give us a nice bit of life. Now, one annoying thing with Runic Shot is, because it can kill anything tapped, it always suggests I kill my own creatures. Don't know why. That's a little annoying. But their Hallowed Phantoms trigger off the Restorative Iganjo, so they're going to get another land, and we've got a big old flying mess of Vigilance creatures to deal with. Now, we have a lot of life from previous gain, and our opponent spent a while thinking, but they decide to attack with everybody. Now, this is going to hurt. It's going to hurt a lot. They're going to gain a bunch of life off their Catilda, but we still have lots of life, and we're still alive. Our wedding announcements are going to trigger soon, so that's good. Let's get a land down. The Ambitious Farmhand is not the best draw. We needed that way earlier in the game. But we'll take it. We'll get the land in hand. And we are going to attack with everything. Stupidly, I clicked individually. We're not going to attack with our Veteran or Phantom, though, because, we need that lifelink. Look at all those beautiful triggers. It's one of the greatest sounds in the world, hearing those all go off. And once again, we get a whole pile off of our second rabble-rousing. Our opponent lets this trigger sit on the stack for way too long, but there it goes. Get a bunch of life. Opponent takes a while to declare blockers, so speeding that up for all of our sakes. And the remaining citizens get in. Now, annoyingly, only 10 get through, so they actually gain more life off the Catilda than they lose, but we now have a hell of a lot more attackers for next turn. Look at that. We've gone wide. We've gone properly wide. And again, we've gained a bunch of life, which will save us for another turn. Alright, end of turn, pass to them. This Runic Shot is being very useless in this game because they now have Vigilance on everything, so they're not going to be tapping down. But let's speed up this part of the game a bit. Our opponent spent quite a while thinking about things, so I chopped out some chunks of the video. But they did end up eventually deciding to attack with everything. I don't know why they would hold back. Apart from the Spirited Companion for the Luminous Phantom. But we're not going to block anything. We're going to let them through. And we should have plenty of life left over to survive this onslaught. Alright, so we're back to my turn. Alright, we'll drop a Plains. We can drop a Defiler of Faith. Now that's going to be very useful to us. It's going to get us extra tokens. So let's play the Chaplain of Alms. Get that guy out there. We get another token down, more life gain from that, and let's attack with all, but hold back our Lunarch and Luminous Phantom, of course, and let's see what happens. Alright, first rabble-rousing, that's 47 new citizens, and 48 life gain triggers, apparently. Oh, no, our second rabble-rousing triggers off. 47 more life triggers on that. And let's see how our opponent deals with that. They spend a while trying to block a bunch of things. They destroy one of our tokens. But they've got 38 unblocked 2/2s going through. And I don't think that's quite enough for them to survive. Alright, even with their life gain, they are out of it. So that is another win on going wide. Pretty fun deck to play against, though. I quite like that enchantment deck. And we're going into game 3. So we're going against Robot Skull Cactus. Okay, so this is an interesting starting hand. Again, a little risky because we only have the 2 lands. But if we can draw into a 3rd land and get the Welcoming Vampire out, we're going to be in a really good shape. We've got our Lunarch Veteran, we've got a Chaplain of Alms, so we can get some life and disturb them back if needed. So let's drop the Lunarch Veteran down first, really maximize that life gain. Our opponent thinks for a bit, drops a land, and passes the turn. So, another land for us, Chaplain of Alms, of course. We are going to get the life, attack in, and pass back. Alright, our opponent drops another land, so they've got black on there, a Blood Tithe Harvester. So, pretty common to see in the current meta. We haven't drawn a land yet, but we do draw the Ambitious Farmhand. Drop that down, that'll get us our third land, which will help us out. Our tempo's a little off, I don't like that, but hopefully we can recover. Alright, we're not going to attack into the Blood Tithe since it will immediately kill our tokens, so we're going to let our opponent go. They've got that Plaza Heroes, first time I've actually seen it, but they can get Hexproof and Indestructible, so that's a pretty interesting card. And they play the Weatherlight Completed, and an Oni Cult Anvil. So this is definitely a sack ping deck. So we're gonna get hit by ping damage quite a bit. Hopefully we can deal with that. Unfortunately, we don't have any artifact removal in this deck apart from our Borrowed Time, so we're just gonna try to play around it for now. We get out the Welcoming Vampire, try and get some card draw off that. I debated attacking but decided not to, since again we would lose at least one of them to that Blood Tithe Harvester. And they're gonna play a Braids. So they're really going in on the sacrificial theme on this deck, and they get out another card I have not played against before. Play their land for turn. So the Experimental Synthesizer, they get some card draw off that, and they're going to be getting their counters on their Weatherlights and pinging me for damage. So the Oni Cult Anvil, definitely a rather annoying card to play against. And they trigger their Braids off the Synthesizer, so they're just using that for the card draw, basically. And so on our turn, we're going to drop in the Reinforcements. We don't have any targets for the Valorous Stance yet, and I want to see what card we can draw, hopefully get a land, which we do. That'll get us out a second Welcoming Vampire, secure our card draw, get the life, and we can attack it in the air, take them down a little bit. Okay, so our opponent's on. Let's see what they've got. An Infernal Grasp, so we lose one of them. And another Blood Tithe. Alright, so they have some more targets for their Oni Cults, which they're going to use. They generate another little blocker, ping me for one, and get the Braids going. So we're going to have to sacrifice a creature. We're going to sack our token over there. Easy choice in this deck. We should have lots and lots of tokens to be able to deal with this. So they scry the bottom, pass to us. And at this point, I decide between the Rabble and the Defiler. I go for the Defiler first to punch out some tokens early, and then we can cast the Lunarch Veteran immediately using the Defiler, and because we already have a Lunarch out, we'll get the health gain back immediately so we don't even lose life casting it. We also draw a Chaplain of Alms, and we can immediately cast that, and we get our life back. In fact, we make a profit because we got 2 Lunarchs. Hit the opponent in the air, and let's move to our opponent's step. Alright, so they have a Fable of the Mirror Breaker, another common card in the current meta. I've seen this one a lot. Not sure what they're going to be duplicating in this deck, but either way, not fond of that hitting the battlefield. So our opponent pings us again, they do their Braids. What do they get rid of? Alright, a creature, we can get rid of a token as well, not really an issue for us. But their Weatherlight Completed does fire for them. Okay, fortunately we draw land, so we can do both spells per turn. We're going to blow up that Weatherlight. Alright. It still triggers, so they're going to get Scry trigger, so resolve that. And then we're going to drop our Rabble Rousing down with the Defiler. We will get the life back because we're going to drop a token on. We're going to draw a card. And we get that down. So the Hideaway on this one, I decide on the Rumor Gatherer, give us some more card draw and scrying ability so we can filter our deck. And we're going to swing in with everything but the Lunarchs. Again, we want that life gain as usual. We'll immediately get our Rumor Gatherer out and just cast it normally. Fun little interaction, the Defiler triggering off of our Rabble Rousing because we definitely don't want to be paying life for that. Opponent took a little time to clear blockers, sped up that, and swing in. So we're in a good state. So long as our opponent doesn't get a Meat Hook Massacre off of this. Oh, Of course they did. So, as I mentioned earlier, Meat Hook is definitely a card this deck has trouble against. And you know, it's a $70 card, so we know it's good. So, because though I had all the disturb costs in the graveyard and all the life gain, this game took another 16 minutes to play out. Unfortunately, I didn't draw into the things I needed to save myself. So we're on to game 4. We can't be leaving this video on a loss, so let's go and face an opponent whose name I cannot pronounce. We have an okay starting hand, so we'll keep that. Again, the Lunarch Veteran is so key to this deck functioning, we desperately want it in every starting hand. The Welcoming Vampire as well is going to save our butts later, and hopefully on the next turn we can draw into a 2-drop we can use. Say hello, and well, we get another Lunarch Veteran, so that's pretty good. No, they don't say hello back, but we're just going to attack in, and then move on to their turn. Alright, opponent draws. What do they have for us? Another land, of course, and passing the turn, so they definitely have a high cost hand, but they've got some type of destruction in it because it's taken a while for my stuff to hit the battlefield, and yep, there it is. We immediately lose our first Welcoming Vampire. Fortunately, we did draw another. We'll swing in, ping them for 2, pass to them. They draw for turn, play a land, and now we know why they kept that starting hand. So they get a Shieldred, a little annoying. So we'll play out the Welcoming Vampire. The reason we're playing that before the Ambitious Farmhand is if we can do that next turn, we get an extra card draw to hopefully get into removal to deal with Shieldred. Unfortunately, they immediately blow up our Welcoming Vampire. So let's not block. We still have a lot of life, and we want to keep our veterans alive. So we draw in, lose some life, and then we can get our Rabble Rousing since we drew a land. For the hideaway, we're going to hide away our destruction so we can get rid of the Shieldred. If we can get up to 10 creatures, that's just a bit of security for us. But we'll ping in, gain some life, and we have some blockers if we want to use them. Opponent immediately Meat Hooks. So they've got the classic black staples. They are playing a deck I have played way too many times, and they swing in. Now, fortunately for us, our Lunarch Veterans can come back, so let's get that going. We'll play both of them. Again, we want the life gain triggers for when things leave the battlefield, and we want to be able to attack in the air, but we're not going to get to do that. Unfortunately, they blow up both of our Luminous Phantoms immediately. Our board state is not looking great. We're down to 13, pass to us. And fortunately, we draw a removal spell that can help us out. The Runic Shot is being useful. We'll get rid of this Shieldred. Stabilize at 10 life for now, I hope. Get the Ambitious Farmhand finally. Take our land into hand. Immediately play that and get a Rumor Gatherer down. Okay, so opponent goes. Let's see what removal they have now. And, Invoke Despair. So, the Ambitious Farmhand we could flip into Lifelink, so I'm gonna get rid of the Rumor Gatherer, possibly a mistake. We also lose our Rabble Rousing. Fortunately, we have another, so we'll play that immediately. So, we hide away Defiler of Faith with that. That'll really help us stabilize if we can get on the field. Get out a token for that with the attack, and pass the turn. Alright, our opponent gets another Shieldred. Fortunately, last turn we did draw the Valorous Stance. So, we're going to immediately use that on the trigger. It's on the stack, it doesn't stop it, but we can at least kill Shieldred right away. The Meat Hook will trigger, bringing us down to 5 total with Shieldred's trigger. But, it's off the field, we've dealt with it, and our opponent removes our Ambitious Farmhand, so we're not going to get that lifelink. But let's ping in for our 1. We've got 3 creatures now. Our Rabble Rousing is proving useful. Hopefully we actually get to keep it. And we do for a turn at least. Another Farmhand. Not what we need this turn, but we'll get the land. Why not? Play that right away and swing in with 3. Start to build back our board and try to survive this Meat Hook. Usually it kills me, but sometimes we do get through it. Alright, Chaplain of Alms is our draw. Not the best card we could have gotten, but we can swing in with everything, and that's going to trigger our Defiler. So we can get him on the field and ping in for a fair bit of damage. Okay, so if our opponent doesn't have another Meat Hook, we should be okay. So our opponent invokes Despair on us again. We lose the rabble-rousing, but they realize we've got too much on the field and will not survive. So, we win that game, and we manage to go up a rank with this deck again.